Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew. Happy Independence Day. Wanted to share this for some time, but I forgot. I had this framed on my wall, and I thought, oh yeah, I gotta get to it. Blade Runner was probably it's one of my favorite movies, period, and it does have flaws, and I love it anyway. I don't care. It's beautiful imagery, and the music by, what's his name, Vangelis. How's it go? Some stupid shit like that, but it adds to the mood of Earth is grimy in the future of 2019 teen. And so anyway, what happens is, oddly enough, the actor who portrayed Roy Batty, who dies in 2019, the actual actor Rutger Hauer died in 2019. That is some spooky shit. He was exceptional as Roy Batty, the replicant in this movie. And he's one of those guys that, he did a lot of direct-to-video movies and stuff like that. I've never understood why his career didn't really take off, because he had such a presence. He just was very cool. And I don't know, these things happen. And so, Blade Runner, this is a Marvel Super Special. Prior to this, all the Marvel Super Special adaptations of comics were either magazine size, or they were Marvel Treasure Edition size. But this is the one that's the size of your average comic book. And we got a jaunty Jim Steranko cover. Pretty cool. And I shouldn't say cool like that. It's like a doof. Like a doofus. So, official adaptation of the new science fiction thriller starring Harrison Ford. Boy, I love this movie so much when it came out, because it's really mostly mood. It was like it rains all the time. It's grimy. It has combination of Japanese culture and American culture, and then just advertising, and just really it's like a romantic goth kind of thriller. And I know I'm generalizing by saying goth, but since this movie came out, God, 40 plus years ago, it's been received one way or the other by critics. Mostly it's been praised. It's based on Philip K. Dick's 1968 novel, Do Androids Dream of Electrical Sheep? Or something like that, of Electric Sheep. The mood is just so beautiful. And, let's get to it. Freaking barcode. Oh, by the way, this was $2.50 at the time, and it's on Baxter paper, which is like super. It's one of those things that a lot of books that were on Baxter paper, I don't care about buying reprints of them, because Baxter will probably outlive us and Apocalypse. So that's pretty cool. The shiny paper, but that's just the inside covers. But Al Williamson, man, he's a legend. From EC Comics in the 50s, one of the finest draftsmen in all of comicdom, I would say. Just magnificent. And he did, Empire Strikes Again and Return of the Jedi, those adaptations, and he also did this one. And Carlos Garzon usually was his inker, but actually he assists Al Williamson. It's inked by Al Williamson, Dan Green, and Ralph Reese, which is interesting because Ralph Reese has a really different style. But if it's this tight and it's a photo, it sort of doesn't matter who the inker is. I know I'm trivializing it, but I've inked a lot of super tight books like this where if I didn't know, years later, I might have in my collection of comp books and say, which pages did I do? And I'm not old, and I still have all my wits about me, although, despite what you might have heard. Colored by Marie Severin, legendary colorist for EC Comics also. So Al and Marie had worked before. This just really fun. I love this. Heavy photo referencing. I think they pretty much gave Al Williamson like almost every frame. I don't know how much the time frame was, so to speak, because when the first Star Wars came out, there was no real footage to go from, and so that had to be drawn out for like 2 issues till the movie came out. And apparently they must have got a lot of photos in advance for Al Williamson. So now the color is nice, but they hadn't adjusted for the Baxter paper yet, because you got all this stuff right here. It's supposed to be all black, okay? But you zoom in and you see where, like, this is exactly what I would do. I mean, I would, ink that, then I would fill around that area, and then I would use a brush later on with ink to fill in that spot. And even though it's the same ink, it would print differently on this kind of paper sometimes. Most of it was figured out before I got into the business in 1994, so I'm digressing. But really, really, just detail on here. And Archie Goodwin, who's a legend. He does a great job as usual. Now, this is what I thought was cool. The first time we meet Rick Deckard, performed by Harrison Ford, it's raining out. He's at a sushi bar. I never knew what a sushi thing. Any raw fish just sounded horrible, in 1982 when this came out. And I love sushi, but it was so exotic. It's so funny. Like, I remember there was, where I grew up, there was like one Mexican restaurant, and it was way off the beaten path. And I think we had a Taco Bell in Penn Hills. And Japanese, I don't know, or there were occasional Chinese restaurants, but they were more downtown, I think, and not even that many. But it took a while for our taste to expand. Anyway, here he's just trying to eat, and here comes Edward James Olmos, another great actor, who is sort of the, I don't want to say the boss of Harrison Ford. That's kind of, it's hard to say. I'm not much on Japanese or city speak or whatever you're using, pal. So take a seat, wait your turn. This is an official request. To defy constituted authority is to flaunt the public good. So I was like, chopsticks. I know what those are, at least. Wow, how about that? Wow. You'll hear me going, wow. Well, the likenesses, it's interesting because a lot of these comic adaptations do not get the likenesses approved, and so they have to kind of make the same character but tweak it a little bit. And I think it has to do with likeness, like you own your likeness. If I was at a comic and somebody did a comic and it was about me and they said, "Oh, what a jerk Drew is," or whatever, blah 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 blah, I'd be like, "Hey, hey now, that's me. Don't do that. I'll lawyer up on your ass." So anyway, I'm digressing as I am wont to do, much to my wife's chagrin. She hates that. She chagrins all day with me. So, I'm not going to go too much into this. If you see the movie, you know what's going on. Well, anyway, the critics originally didn't like it, and there was a variety of reasons. I liked it because I was a teenager. It was a rainy, broody, kind of gloomy, kind of, teenage angst kind of mood movie for me. And so that was it, really, because the pacing is so awkward. And there's not that much action. It's more like this story is the cityscape, and you talk about the replicants, which were mechanical. They're like life model decoys that S.H.I.E.L.D. uses in Marvel Comics. And they would do a lot of off-planet mining and more dangerous stuff than regular humans could do as far as physical work and living under certain conditions that would be off-planet. And I love the colors here. Look at that orange right there. That actually, it's like a orange-reddish sort of color, how it separates the two of them. And it's perfectly fine. Al Williamson, he must have been hard to color because he has drop-off lines. That's where, the lines don't completely... It's like right where the bottom of the lip right there on him, there's a gap. And there's a gap on her eye, next to her eye. And you got to be really, really accurate with that stuff. Especially in this paper. And, oh my gosh. This, it was such a visual treatment. This was probably my favorite movie for years and years until maybe Die Hard, but for different reasons. They're completely different movies. And there's Rachel. And it is, if you're not a fan of this movie, if you're not into this kind of stuff, most people wouldn't like it. I don't think it did very well at first. And Harrison Ford, he's half the reason it even got, some amount of success. But man, this is great stuff. Look at that. Wow. That insulated suit. And also, Marvel had this habit of also coming out with two, like they break this double-sized issue, they would break it in half, have two issues on the newsstands. So one month would be Blade Runner 1, the other one would be Blade Runner 2. Now this was it's got to be like a photostat or something. I don't know, that just seems like a lot of craziness to actually draw. Some stuff you could pull off, and then some stuff it's like, why not use a photostat there? It's not going to matter either way, and it's going to look more impressive. And it's not like a lot of this stuff is photostat. It's not leaning on that. And there's Daryl Hannah, and this guy has Methuselah syndrome, which makes him look a lot older than he is. And he's lonely. He lives in that place by himself. He goes, no housing shortage around here. Plenty of room for everyone. So this is the dreaded 2019, and I just liked it. The detective motif is really, it's always cool, but you throw in some sci-fi and some amazing visuals, you got yourself a good, how about that? I mean, it's all photo reference, but Al has a way of doing it that each individual panel is, it's masterful. It's just really exciting stuff. It's still engaging. I find it that way. Some people over the years have said it won some kind of award, I think it did, for, I don't know what. Anyway, if you like the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to zip through some of these. Wow. There we go. That just knocked me out. That's been a thing in Japan for decades. And, this is the U.S., so, we adopted a lot of these trends. Elevator on the outside. Going up. So, that car was cool, too. Panel's all blood red as Roy Batty kills his creator. The battle at the end is really neat. It's crazy because he gets his fingers broken, bent backwards by Roy Batty, and it's sort of like he's trying to hide away and get away from him. And that's sort of why I mentioned Die Hard later, because there's a lot of hit and run type stuff that Harrison Ford does that would later show up in Bruce Willis's movie. And that's really neat. This was blown up to be a cover of one of the two issues for the newsstand. And the movie had a monologue, but throughout the whole movie, Harrison Ford's character Rick Deckard had a monologue to go like a Sam Spade sort of thing, like this gal, she had great gams, that kind of stuff. But it was a little more dry than that. And also at the end sucked. It sucked. Broke my heart. Oh, we'll get to that in a minute. For some reason, he hooks up with Rachel, and they go flying off into the sunset. It doesn't quite show here, but at the end, they fly off through the clouds of the sunset. I'm like, where's the sun? It hasn't been in the movie the whole time. It has not. So that totally killed it. But it wasn't until many years later when Ridley Scott, the director, they came out with the director's cut that he had done. It had no narration. it had a different ending. It had it basically, they were walking away, and a wall slams shut. It's a door, but it's also a wall, and then bam, you're out. So I remember hating this ending. It just seems so awkward. Just like, remember The Abyss? That was abysmal what they did at the end of The Abyss. It was just ridiculous. I don't know if it was why the studio would change these things, but The Abyss, when they did a director's cut, it's magnificent. But you're tainted because you've seen this original and both originals so many times that it almost feels like an apologetic add-on, like they fixed it later, even though that was the original director's cut. So it's frustrating, but I like seeing this on the big screen. If I ever got one of those really, really huge TVs, I'd probably watch this first. Anyway, hope you like it. Oh, there's even more photos, cast credits. Very young Sean Young. She would go on to do. She almost became Batwoman. Yeah, I can't remember. No, Catwoman. Yeah, she almost got to be Catwoman, and then she fell during a stunt, and she was off the movie, and then she got real confrontational on some morning show dressed as Catwoman, and she was looking at, she was addressing Tim Burton, saying like, I would make a much better Catwoman. So that kind of got her, Hollywood was like, I don't know, she's kind of a wild card. And she did some other stuff later. And what's funny is she's very young in this, but she has this really old-fashioned hairdo, like from, the 30s or 40s. But, she got older. She didn't have to have those old fashions. She looked younger for the longest time. That makes sense? No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. There's Daryl Hannah. That's her first breakout of performance. Really cool stuff here. We got some ads. But, behind the comics adaptation. And there is, the late Jim Shooter. And then at the bottom, see, it's Archie Goodwin at the desk. Al Williamson, Carlos Garza, who is standing. So that's Al Williamson right there. So I heard Archie was one of the kindest souls ever. Did I ever tell you I was present when his ashes were scattered in the Archie Goodwin? His wish was, after he died, he wanted his ashes scattered in at San Diego Comic-Con in the water behind the convention center. And I was there with Mike Carlin and Dusty Abel and his girlfriend, and me and Karen, and it's one of those weird things. I've never been part of that before, but I just heard nothing. I've never heard anybody say one bad word about Archie. So, and it's a shame. I worked for his assistant editors a lot, but not directly for him, because by the time I got in, he was ailing already with cancer. So, yeah, that's the kind of stuff I was eating up. How about that? Oh, I love that. So you saw like Williamson borrowed that not borrowed it, he gotta find it. Is it here? Is it here? There it is. Right there and right there. And the thing is, I've seen people use photo reference before, but this is so tight. And it's so, I don't know how long it took to get out, because you're not supposed to have much time between the movie and the adaptation. Yeah, hanging on with 2 broken fingers. That was really creepy. Ulrika Mindlebone. P. Craig Russell. Too great. Beautiful Michael Golden cover for all the characters at the time that were major. Love that. All in all, great package. You can probably get it real cheap somewhere, but it's tremendous fun. It's really cool and makes you want to see the movie again, which I probably will. Watch your director's cut. It's mostly quiet, because you don't have that voiceover narration. So tell me what you think. Well, is this your favorite movie? It's like in my top 10 movie. Even though there are flaws, it was the right time for me. There was a lot of a lot of nuance that I really enjoyed, and just the whole mood. Is this one of your favorite movies? What do you think about the director's cut versus the regular one that got released? Where were you when you saw it? I I think I just got my driver's license. I can't remember. Um, yeah, sure. Whatever if you got anything about Al Williamson you want to share, or anything else about like Steranko, he did a lot of painted covers at this time. He did those Marvel indexes that were published by Fantaco or somebody. That's it, and have a great time.